pay me back.
Chris owed Penny $100 since last year. Chris used the $100 to buy printer ink. He was in a tough financial situation, but really needed printer ink to write his 20-page paper. Penny wanted him to pay her back immediately, but it never happened. He always had some excuses. He would say that he had the money, but he forgot it. He would say that his boss hadn't given him his paycheck yet for a long time. Penny forgot about the money Chris owed her. Penny remembered when she and Chris went to a restaurant together. Seeing him take out his wallet made her remember. "Hey, do you have $100? You still owe me," Penny said. "I thought I paid you back already," Chris said. Penny laughed. "Can I give it to you tomorrow?" Chris said. Penny knew that if she said yes, she would never get it. Penny said no and made him go all the way to the bank to get $100. Chris went to the bank and asked to take out $100. Something was wrong with his account, though. The banker told him that there was nothing in his account. Someone had pretended to be him and took all his money. Penny was never going to get her $100 back.
Doing something good can be bad.
Greg always felt strongly about the homeless population. He believed that even if a person was homeless, he or she deserved to be treated fairly. There must have been something tragic in their lives that led them to that path. He tried to help them in any way he could. For Thanksgiving, Greg decided to go around his neighborhood giving out free cooked turkeys. The homeless people were thankful to Greg. They felt bad that they couldn't return the favor. Greg told them not to worry about it. Greg also encouraged the homeless people to talk to each other so they wouldn't feel so lonely. Greg saw that 2 police officers were approaching him. He wondered what they wanted from him. The police officers told Greg that he couldn't give out free food without a license because it was a health concern. Greg thought that was ridiculous since it was clear that the turkey was fine. The police officers told Greg that if he gave out food again, he would be thrown in jail. Greg didn't realize that doing something good could actually be bad.
No internet connection.
Jacob had to write a 10-page paper on Abraham Lincoln by tomorrow. He hadn't even started yet. He always procrastinated, but he always got good grades too. Jacob poured himself a cup of coffee and drank the whole thing. He opened up his laptop. Then he opened up a blank document. Next, he opened up the internet browser. He had to look up information on Abraham Lincoln. When he clicked the enter button to look up information, it said that there was an internet connection problem. He checked his router. It looked fine. He double-checked if he typed Abraham Lincoln incorrectly. He tried turning his Wi-Fi on and off. It still didn't work. Jacob started to sweat. He knew his teacher wouldn't give him a deadline extension. Jacob called customer service and explained his problem. The person on the other line gave him suggestions, but nothing worked. Jacob talked to the person for about an hour and then gave up. He was upset that he wasted an hour. It was already 9 p.m., and he had to turn in his paper at 8 a.m. Jacob had to turn this around. He went to the library, picked out 10 books on Lincoln, and used the library computer. He finished writing at 2 a.m. He ended up getting an A on the paper.
A phone app.
Ralph is a waiter at a taco restaurant. He likes his job because the customers are really friendly. His co-workers are funny. The pay is pretty good. He does not want to work at the taco restaurant for the rest of his life, though. He wants to use his money to start his own company. He wants to create a phone app that allows people to talk to friends internationally. Ralph has all the plans for his app, but he just needs the money. If the app goes big, he could make millions. The people who came up with apps like Snapchat and GroupMe are extremely successful. Apps are a modern invention. It's pretty amazing what one good idea can do. Ralph noticed a customer come in and serves him. Ralph compliments the man's watch. "Thank you. The truth is, I hate wearing it, but I need it because I have such a hectic schedule," he says. Ralph asks what he does for a living. The man explains that he buys apps from young entrepreneurs. Ralph jumps up and down with excitement. He tells the man about his app. He likes Ralph's idea and sets up a business conference meeting with him.
A stolen bike.
Beatrice rode her bike everywhere. Most of her classmates drove around the neighborhood. Beatrice's family couldn't afford to get her a car, so she decided to take her driving test later. She doesn't mind too much. Biking was fun, and it was good exercise. On her way home from school, Beatrice stopped by the supermarket. She forgot her bike lock. She thought about what to do and decided to just leave the bike outside. No one was going to steal her bike, she thought. She went inside to buy milk. When she exited the store, her bike was gone. She was going crazy. She looked all around the market just to see if the thief was still nearby. Hours went by, and she still couldn't find it. Beatrice walked back home with a gallon of milk in her hand. She looked up, and her bike was in front of her house. She was surprised. How did it end up at home? She asked her family how it got there. It turned out that her brother took it as a prank.
Body image problems.
It was summertime. Everyone was going to the beach because it was too hot in the city. Ellen and Catherine wanted to go to the beach, but their friend Macy did not want to go to the beach. It wasn't that she didn't like the breeze or the sand. In fact, she loved the beach. She just did not like that she would have to wear a bathing suit. She felt uncomfortable showing a lot of skin because she was a little bit overweight. Ellen and Catherine reassured her that she looked fine. "Why don't you just wear a one-piece swimsuit?" Ellen said. "Because it still sticks to my skin and makes my tummy bulge," Macy said. Ellen and Catherine felt bad that Macy felt insecure about her body. They told Macy that a lot of people at the beach were not in the best shape, and nobody would even pay attention to her. Ellen and Catherine made a list of fun things to do at the beach and gave it to Macy to try to convince her to go. "You don't even have to wear a bathing suit if you don't want to. You can just walk around the beach," Catherine said. Macy decided that her friends were right and drove herself and her friends to the beach.
Fighting friends.
Roland and Miles have been best friends since 9th grade. They bonded over their common interest in video games. They would go to each other's house and play video games after they finished their homework. They did everything together, from eating breakfast to sleeping over at each other's place. Right now, however, they were not speaking to each other. Miles did not pick Roland to be on his basketball team, and Roland was upset. It has been 2 weeks already. Miles has been trying to make it up to him almost every day. He made him breakfast in the morning, offered to drive him to school, and offered to carry his textbooks. Roland just kept pushing him away. Miles didn't know what he could do. Miles directly asked him one day, and Roland said, "Nothing you do can make up for what you did." Miles was sad, and he gave up. Now, Roland and Miles are about to graduate from high school. It has been a year since they talked. On the last day of school, Roland goes up to Miles. "Hey, I really miss you, to be honest. Want to play video games after the graduation ceremony?" Roland asks. Miles smiles and says yes. Sometimes you can't fix your mistakes right away. Friendship takes time to fix.
Singing competition.
Teresa just arrived in Los Angeles to audition for The Next Superstar. This was her last chance to make it big. One of the judges asked where she was from and what her life had been like. Teresa said she was from Maine. She then said that she had been singing since she was 5 years old and had been struggling to pay the bills. Teresa then sang an original song. The judges were impressed that she wrote a song. They liked how high her voice could go, and they allowed her into the next round. Since Teresa made it to the next round, she got to stay at a hotel for free and eat delicious food. Teresa met other singers, and they were all really good. They picked 100 out of 100,000 contestants. She was competing with the best. Teresa sang a Mariah Carey song for the second round. The judges said she was good, but it wasn't great. They recommended that she sing an opera song since her voice could go really high. Teresa sang an Italian opera song, and the crowd went wild. Since then, Teresa decided to change her singing style. Singing opera made her stand out.
A sweepstakes winner.
Janet entered a sweepstakes where she could win a free trip to Hawaii. She read about it from the back of a cereal box. She always wanted to go to Hawaii, so she was excited when she saw the ad. She realized that a lot of people were going to enter the sweepstakes, but something in her felt confident she would win. She was so confident that she started looking up places to go in Hawaii. The winner of the sweepstakes was going to be announced on the Hario cereal website. Janet went on the website and saw her name on the home page. She won! Janet was so excited that she played a Hawaiian song and danced to it. She read the details on the website and found out that she could invite one person to the trip. Janet didn't know who to invite. She wanted to invite someone she could spend hours with. She wanted to invite someone who would be willing to do adventurous activities. She wanted to invite someone who would appreciate Hawaii. Janet thought about it and decided to take her mom.
Facing a setback.
Carter was known among his friend group to be the competitive one. He saw everything as a competition, from having the nicest car to finishing math homework the fastest. It was a good thing and a bad thing. It was good because he accomplished a lot. He always tried his hardest and aimed to be the best. It was bad because it made him stressed. Carter had just taken a difficult English test. A few days later, he got his grade back. He received a C. He was in shock. He had never gotten less than an A before. He asked his friends what they got on their tests. They didn't want to show him because they thought he wanted to show off. "Carter, you make us feel bad when you ask what we got," said one of his friends. Carter did not want to admit that he got a low grade. After class ended, Carter went up to the teacher. He asked Ms. Green what the average grade in the class was. Ms. Green said the average grade was B. Carter was extremely upset. For the first time, his grade was below average. Ms. Green told him not to worry and that even the smartest people would face setbacks.
Picking a team.
Miles loved playing sports. He grew up playing basketball and tennis. He even wanted to play both sports in college and eventually become a professional. It was also really important for him to win, too. In physical education class, the teacher wanted Miles and another student, Antonio, to each pick 4 other guys to play a round of basketball. Roland was in the same physical education class. Miles knew that Roland wanted him to pick him first to avoid embarrassment. Every time students picked teams, Roland was the last. He was on the chubbier side, clumsy, and got tired easily. Miles felt bad, but he also did not want Roland on his team. There were 2 people left, Roland and Tom. Both of them were not athletic, but Tom was a little better because he was taller. Miles felt conflicted. He knew that if he did not pick Roland, he would be really sad. What was more important, winning or friendship? Miles decided that winning was more important and picked Tom. Roland was so shocked that he ran away to the bathroom to cry. All the guys laughed at him. Miles followed him into the bathroom to talk to him. Roland told him to get out. Miles continued to play basketball and ended up winning. It wasn't worth Roland's tears, though.
A scary story for the night.
Steve was a counselor at Camp Lafton. His job was to take care of kids at night, teach them how to swim, and make sure they weren't getting into trouble. At night, the kids kept talking. They were supposed to be quiet an hour ago. Steve had a hard time stopping them from talking. He was getting tired of telling them to be quiet. Steve had an idea. "Hey, do you guys want to hear a scary story about this cabin?" he asked. They got excited and started jumping up and down. "Okay, I will tell it. You have to be quiet so you can hear me, though," Steve said. The kids nodded. The story was an old camp legend. It was about the twins who lived in the same cabin as they did. One of the twins mysteriously fainted, while the other one fell through the hole of the floor and was never to be seen again. The twin who fainted was in a coma. When Steve finished the story, the kids were scared. They couldn't sleep, and some of the kids even cried. The kids were definitely quiet, though. He didn't think they would get that scared.
The hard truth.
Harold loved to draw. His love for drawing started when he was 5 years old. He went to a museum when he was 5 years old and was fascinated by all the drawings. His mom told him that maybe someday his art would be up on the walls. Since then, he had drawn something every day. However, there was one big problem. Harold was not good at drawing. He wasn't terrible, but he was definitely average. Harold is now 10 years old, and for 5 years his parents and friends have been telling him how great he is. Harold believed them. At school, he saw a flyer for a drawing competition among 5th graders. The theme was environmental awareness. The first-place winner would get $100. Harold was super excited when he saw the flyer. It was a chance for him to show off his skills. Harold told his parents about the competition. His mom and dad nervously looked at each other. They didn't want him to find out that he was actually not a good artist. They told Harold what they really thought of his artwork. "So, you don't think I'm good?" he asked. They shook their heads. Harold was so upset that he tore up his art. He locked himself in his room. At night, his parents went to his room to give him his dinner. "Son, we really feel bad. We think it's great that you want to keep drawing. So your mother and I decided to sign you up for art lessons," Harold's dad said. Harold ran up to his parents and gave them a hug.
A jealous girlfriend.
Owen and Donna had been dating for about 3 months. Everything was going well until Donna saw Owen hugging her best friend, Leanne. Owen and Leanne barely knew each other, so why were they hugging? After school, Owen and Donna met at their usual place. Owen tried to kiss her, but Donna turned away. "What's wrong?" he asked. She told him that she saw him hugging Leanne. She was crying. She got a really bad grade on her biology test, so I was just trying to be nice, Owen said. "Yeah, but you didn't have to hug her," Donna said. Owen couldn't believe that Donna was that jealous. "It's really not a big deal," Owen said. "It's a big deal to me. Other people were even telling me that it looked like you guys were a couple," Donna said. Owen rolled his eyes. "So what would you have done if you were me?" Owen asked. "I would have just talked to her and give her a pat on the back," Donna said. "Okay, now I know what to do next time. Can we just make up?" Owen asked. Donna nodded her head. She was tired of arguing. The two of them went to get lunch and do homework together.
Name change.
Diego did not like his name. It was a Spanish name, but Diego didn't even speak Spanish. People always assumed he did, though. In fact, Diego wasn't even Hispanic. Diego also didn't like it because it didn't sound cool. Diego wanted to change his name to something like Brandon or Brock. Diego told his parents that he wanted to change his name. His parents were furious. "This is the name we gave you. By changing it, you're going against our wishes," his mom said. His dad said, "Why don't you just tell people to call you something else?" Don't legally change it, though. Diego felt that if he did that, people would just ignore him and continue calling him Diego. Diego tried what his parents suggested. At school, he told his friends and teachers to call him Brock. His friends laughed at him and asked him why. His teachers were okay with it, but they kept calling him Diego accidentally. Since Diego was already 13, it was hard for people who had known him for a long time to call him by any other name.
Eye problems.
Stella was practically blind without her glasses. Her family was not blessed when it came to vision. Everyone in her family wore glasses, contact lenses, or had their vision corrected. Stella had to wear thick glasses because her prescription was 20/100. This means that she sees at 20 feet what a normal person sees at 100. Stella felt like people who had 20/20 vision didn't understand how lucky they were. A common problem Stella had was not knowing where her glasses were. There was a time when she knocked her glasses off the desk and spent an hour looking for them. Another problem was that glasses just made her look more nerdy. Stella slept over at her friend's house and had to drive home the next morning. When she opened her car door, she realized that she wasn't wearing her glasses. It must have slipped her mind. Stella knocked on her friend's door. There was no one inside. Her friend had just left. Stella couldn't drive back home. She would definitely get in a car accident. Stella waited outside her friend's doorstep. Eventually, she fell asleep. When her friend came back, Stella was too tired to drive, so she just stayed at her friend's house again.
A stay-at-home dad.
Justin was a stay-at-home dad. That means he takes care of the kids and deals with housework. His wife is the one who goes out and works. A couple years ago, Justin worked as a teacher. He loved his job. Then, his wife Terry got pregnant. At first, the couple both wanted to work and get a babysitter. Eventually, Justin thought it would be best if he stayed at home and took care of their kid. He wasn't getting that much money as a teacher. Also, he wanted to have control over how his kid was going to be raised. Justin liked being a stay-at-home dad. He loved seeing his kid learn things from him. He wanted to make sure his kid grew up right. Justin made sure to read to his son, take him to open areas, and give him healthy food. The biggest problem with being a stay-at-home dad was the comments he got from his guy friends. They made fun of him for doing housework. At first, the comments bothered him, but they're not a big deal anymore. Justin does miss teaching, though. He is waiting for the day he can teach at school again. He is planning to go back to the job after his kid turns 13 or so. He thinks that is a good time for his son to do his own thing. Justin was a stay-at-home dad. That means he takes care of the kids and deals with housework. His wife is the one who goes out and works. A couple years ago, Justin worked as a teacher. He loved his job. Then, his wife Terry got pregnant. At first, the couple both wanted to work and get a babysitter. Eventually, Justin thought it would be best if he stayed at home and took care of their kid. He wasn't getting that much money as a teacher. Also, he wanted to have control over how his kid was going to be raised. Justin liked being a stay-at-home dad. He loved seeing his kid learn things from him. He wanted to make sure his kid grew up right. Justin made sure to read to his son, take him to open areas, and give him healthy food. The biggest problem with being a stay-at-home dad was the comments he got from his guy friends. They made fun of him for doing housework. At first, the comments bothered him, but they're not a big deal anymore. Justin does miss teaching, though. He is waiting for the day he can teach at school again. He is planning to go back to the job after his kid turns 13 or so. He thinks that is a good time for his son to do his own thing.
Pretty and dumb.
Arya was always the pretty girl at school. She had voluminous blonde hair and curly hair. She was tall and thin. Because she was pretty, her classmates assumed she was dumb. Arya was not the smartest girl, but she wasn't the dumbest either. She wanted to prove people wrong by enrolling in advanced placement English literature. On the first day of class, people were shocked to see her there. The teacher even said that she was in the wrong class. Arya had to show the teacher her class schedule. The teacher assigned the students a passage to read and analyze. The teacher put them in groups of 4. Arya's group just ignored Arya and analyzed the passage. Arya tried to talk, but they kept ignoring her and cutting her off. Being sick of the poor treatment, Arya finally yelled, "I'm trying to talk here." "Nobody wants to listen to you. What you have to say is probably dumb anyways," one of her group members said. At the end of the class, Arya told the teacher she was dropping. Ms. Sanchez said, "Don't drop, because then you're proving them right. Show them you're capable of using your brain. Share your thoughts out loud in class, and work on getting A's on your essays." Ms. Sanchez was right. She would never get rid of her dumb reputation if she dropped the class. Arya was always the pretty girl at school. She had voluminous blonde hair and curly hair. She was tall and thin. Because she was pretty, her classmates assumed she was dumb. Arya was not the smartest girl, but she wasn't the dumbest either. She wanted to prove people wrong by enrolling in advanced placement English literature. On the first day of class, people were shocked to see her there. The teacher even said that she was in the wrong class. Arya had to show the teacher her class schedule. The teacher assigned the students a passage to read and analyze. The teacher put them in groups of 4. Arya's group just ignored Arya and analyzed the passage. Arya tried to talk, but they kept ignoring her and cutting her off. Being sick of the poor treatment, Arya finally yelled, "I'm trying to talk here." "Nobody wants to listen to you. What you have to say is probably dumb anyways," one of her group members said. At the end of the class, Arya told the teacher she was dropping. Ms. Sanchez said, "Don't drop, because then you're proving them right. Show them you're capable of using your brain. Share your thoughts out loud in class, and work on getting A's on your essays." Ms. Sanchez was right. She would never get rid of her dumb reputation if she dropped the class.